Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to HeartTouch Stories, where we share powerful tales that stay in your heart long after the story ends. Let me ask you something. What would you do if you found a little boy standing in the rain, shivering, with no family to call his own? Would you walk away? Or would you take a step that could change both your lives forever? Today's story is about the farmer who adopted an orphan. Stay with me until the end, because this story holds a truth we all need to remember. It was a stormy evening. The wind howled across the fields as a tired farmer walked home after a long day of work. Suddenly, by the roadside, he noticed a small figure. A boy, no older than 8, drenched by the rain, hugging a torn blanket to his chest. His eyes were filled with fear and loneliness. The farmer approached slowly. "Where is your home, son?" he asked gently. The boy lowered his head and whispered, I don't have one." At that moment, the farmer's heart ached deeply. He could have walked away. He could have said, "I have my own problems." But instead, he reached out his hand. "Come with me. Tonight, you will not be alone." That night, the farmer brought the boy home. But not everyone was happy. Neighbors whispered, "Why bring in another mouth to feed? He can barely feed his own family." Even his relatives worried. Food was scarce. Money was little. Why take on such a burden? But the farmer had made a decision. And once his heart was set, there was no turning back. In the following weeks, the boy tried to help in every way he could. He carried buckets of water. He gathered firewood. He smiled shyly at the dinner table, always waiting until everyone else had eaten before touching his food. And little by little, the farmer's doubts disappeared. This boy was not a burden. He was a blessing. Then came the hardest year. The crops failed. Hunger swept through the village. The farmer had only a little grain left, not enough for everyone. One night his family argued, "Send the boy away. We must think of ourselves." The farmer looked at the boy, sitting silently in the corner, tears in his eyes. Then the farmer stood up and spoke firmly, No child under my roof will go hungry. If we share, we all survive. That is final." The boy rushed to his side, crying, "Father, I promise, I'll work harder. I'll never let you down." And from that moment, the boy no longer called him sir. He called him father. Years passed. The boy grew into a strong young man. He worked side by side with the farmer. Together, they rebuilt the farm, season after season. Together, they shared sweat, laughter, and hope. One golden evening, many years later, the boy, now a man, stood beside the farmer, looking out at the fields they had once struggled to keep alive. The setting sun stretched 2 shadows across the wheat. Not one shadow, but 2, father and son. The young man whispered, his voice trembling, "You didn't just give me food. You gave me a life. You gave me a home. You gave me love. And that is more than I ever dreamed possible." Dear listener, what does this story teach us? It teaches us that family is not only bound by blood. Family is built through kindness, sacrifice, and the courage to open your heart when it would be easier to close it. The farmer had little, yet he gave much. He was poor in wealth, but rich in love. And that love transformed a lonely orphan into a son, and a struggling man into a father with a fuller heart. In life, we often believe we must wait until we are rich, successful, or comfortable before we can help someone. But this story reminds us of a greater truth. You don't need to have much to give. Sometimes, the smallest act of compassion, a meal, a hand to hold, a place to belong, can change an entire destiny. So let us ask ourselves, who around us needs a little kindness today? Who needs a word of comfort, a gesture of support, or a reminder that they are not alone? Because when we give love, we don't just change another person's life. We change our own. Thank you for listening to this story on HeartTouch Stories. If it touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, so these stories can reach more people who need them. Remember, kindness costs nothing, but it can mean everything. Until next time, stay kind, stay compassionate, and keep touching hearts. Goodbye, dear friends.